Drop to the 4 spot. They get Oklahoma City tonight without their big three. And yes, we know about Luka and Austin Reeves, LeBron not playing. So, Chris, the 3 seed for Denver, take me through the significance, why it's important for Denver to try to lock in that spot.
So right now, if the season were to end, they will face, I believe, is it the Houston Rockets in the first round? Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. Houston Rockets, and then if they get past the Rockets, assuming the Rockets clinch that, they have to face the San Antonio Spurs. Now, if you're the 4th, you fall to 4th, your opponent changes, probably the Lakers or somebody else. But then the second round will likely be the OKC Thunder. So, if you're going to pick a path to get to the NBA Finals, I probably want to play the inexperienced team, the postseason inexperienced team.
Who you just beat.
That being the San Antonio Spurs. And so I think for Denver, I think they are happy with where they. Well, I wouldn't say happy.
No.
But I think they're a little bit more comfortable being in the 3 spot right now and taking that bracket path.
Look, these two teams have been at it all year. I'm talking about OKC and San Antonio Spurs as far as like positioning and all that stuff. Whoever gets past that first round, they'll have to bring their lunchbox, no matter what. So
Sure.
That's what's going to make this Western Conference playoff picture so tight because, whatever we get, we're going to get a good game out of them. I would love to see Wemby versus Jokic in the second round.
Yeah, by the way, Denver, at least currently, and there's obviously some room here where there might be some fluctuations, but we look at Minnesota in the first round. I was incorrect, Chris.
Minnesota,
3-6
yeah,
but I don't know if that matters. Well, I don't know. Minnesota seems like a tougher team. But
First round, listen, it's not about the first round. They'll play Houston, whoever, Lakers, whatever. It don't matter. It ain't about the first round. It's about that second round.
Yeah.
100%.
I think all teams believe they get past that second round where it was likely San
There's no
Antonio,
cupcakes
OKC.
past that.
You get past that.
No cupcakes.
Then they feel like, all right, we're in pretty good position to claim that next NBA title.
Players start thinking about matchups. Like, to your point, there are no cupcakes, but when you're inside of a locker room, do you sit there, though, in a locker room and you start looking and like, hey, like, I think I'd rather play them? Or, like, is that not something?
And it's a time of the year where you kind of look at matchups and how you played throughout the year against these people. I think coaches do it a little bit more. They try to figure out who they can coach against or how they play and what their strengths are. But yeah, I mean, this is the time of the year you're looking at matchups, you're looking at, at your schedule and other opponents' schedules and trying to figure out not just who you're playing, but where you're going to be for a week or so. Mm-hmm. So like this is that time of the year where positioning means a lot.
Yeah. Brent Barry came on last week. We interviewed him. He is now on the broadcast team with Amazon, right? He's Amazon. Is it Amazon
so, yeah.
or NBC? Is Brent?
He's on the NBC side.
NBC side, yeah. But Brent Barry, player, he's an assistant coach, and he was in the Spurs front office. He said, yes, teams, we do this. We do look at position and try to figure things out. And then, listen, beware that the last couple of games of the season or last 2 games, teams will start sitting guys. It's not for rest. They're going to sit guys for certain positioning, so be on the lookout for that. And that's all. And that's not tanking.
No.
That's getting ready for the playoffs. That is positioning themselves to be in a supreme spot.
I say mostly for that home court and that Game 7 being at home, because that's huge.
Which is a good way of looking at it. I'm just curious because you're talking to people all around the league. Denver hasn't been, generally speaking, healthy for most of this year. You got your radio show, you're listening to fans, they're calling in, doing the whole thing. What is the conversation when you're talking to people, different parts of the country, about this Denver team? Because the Western Conference, we've spent, 80% of the time on this show, most shows talking about the top 2 seeds. I know we talk about all the teams, but in terms of teams that can legitimately win it, it's been Oklahoma City and San Antonio coming out of the West. It feels like we've discredited a little bit Denver.
Well, I wouldn't say we discredit them. I think San Antonio has just been a really good Cinderella story for everybody, so they're getting a lot of limelight. Denver is a team that's not flashy. They're people might consider them boring, but they're a team that is extremely dangerous. They can beat anybody. Now, if they faced the San Antonio Spurs or OKC Thunder, they probably wouldn't go in as the favorites.
Sure.
But they can beat anybody. You can't say that about any other team in the Western Conference that you say, oh, they can go in there and they can beat Lakers. They can beat San Antonio, they can beat OKC.
You don't feel that way about Minnesota if they're
No, I would be
if they're playing well?
surprised. I would be surprised if they beat Denver, OKC, or San Antonio. I'd be surprised.
About Houston?
I wouldn't be. I'd be very surprised.
I'd be more surprised about Houston than I would Minnesota.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with Denver. They wouldn't be my favorites going into a series with those other two teams, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
And you said a lunchbox. You said
Bring your lunchbox.
What does a lunchbox look like nowadays? People, I remember what it looked like for us.
I'm an old school kind of guy, man.
Like the hard pail or whatever, you know.
Blue collar.
Yeah, blue collar. Do they have lunch pails now? Like
Yeah,
they
my
still do that?
kids have
Right.
lunchbox.
They do that? Okay.
That's a tradition that can't go
on,
anywhere,
man.
right?
You just
Yeah.
bring your lunch.
Just bring.
Like if you're a kid, you brown bagging it.
Yeah, like that.
But that's not a lunch pail. It's bringing lunch.
I mean, yeah, in the lunchbox.
Like if you're in first grade, you can't brown bag it. Like you're gonna have like a lunch.
I brown bagged it. My parents did get me
I
a
brown
lunch
bagged
pail,
it too.
but
All right, so 10-point game in Indiana. We'll get back to that in just a moment. I know we started this show talking about the health of Wemby for a lot of reasons, not just the postseason, but we saw him have to leave the game, and I know we had this MVP conversation. Chris, you got some news for me?
yeah, so sources told me that Victor Wembanyama underwent a clean MRI, so he thankfully avoided anything serious. And so moving forward, sources told me he's going to be day-to-day. So we will see Wemby come back at some point before the regular season concludes. So that's great news. No serious injury. He will be back, clean MRI.
Yeah. Number one, I know fans are thinking about his health, making sure that he's right. Number two, obviously the postseason. But number three, and I think this is important to him because he's been on record talking about how he wants to win the MVP. 3 games remaining, Rudy. Got to play in one of them. And this is good news, according to Chris. Looks like we'll get at least one more game from Wemby in the regular season.
I mean, look, this is a fight. That whole race for MVP has been a fight this year. It's been great to see. And you'll love to see everybody out there.
Yeah, no, especially when you know how important he is. Chris, just take me through like how you think the organization handles this. Obviously, the MRI comes back clean, as you just reported, but if he's got 3 games remaining, what are you trying to figure out who that source is?
I just tweeted what I said. That's all.
Okay.
That's all, Rudy.
You have no sources, man.
How do you think the organization handles this? Is it just the one game to get him to that threshold for MVP conversation or consideration?
You know what? I think it's what Wemby wants. Honestly, I think if he feels like when you get to this point, he's put out goals for the team. And I'm not saying it was just him, but he's put out certain goals for the team. They've reached those goals. And I think at this point, you know, once he gets that one game needed to qualify, I think he understands the bigger picture. But ultimately, I think if he feels like he needs to play another game or so, I think the organization will allow him to make that decision. But it's safe to say he'll get a game in.
One thing, I don't think anybody knew how much of a competitor this kid was. You know, what he's willing to play through, what he's willing to do, you know, how much he's willing to give for his team. Like, this guy came off the bench for a good portion this year. Like, he's willing to put, you know, himself or whatever he's thinking to the side to get for the best, you know, for the betterment of the team. But other than that, I think this is one of those things that he really, really, really wants. So, you know, I do envision seeing him out there, and I envision him being fine. Like, this is the time of the year. Everybody's kind of dealing with something. You know what? The funny thing about it, I watched the video. I didn't really see the injury. You know, obviously we understand that there's something going on, but, you know, I'm just glad to see he made it out with no real injuries.
You know, if it comes down to Chris, what you said, which is what he wants, he's playing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, there's no hesitation
But
there.
I think you still got to be smart. If you have lingering soreness in the rib area, I think it's wise to be smart and go into the playoffs as you know, as well as possible. So he's proven he's a competitor.
Yeah.
There's nothing left to prove at this point. Get that one game you need to qualify, and if you still can use some rest moving forward, go ahead, because we're locked in number 2. They can't move up. They can't go down. There's not any reason to risk anything moving forward.
And I don't think, like, this is one of those things where, like,